Austin Faith Dialogue, a public affairs series at the crossroads of religion and life. Austin Faith Dialogue highlights the interaction of the religious community with the social and cultural issues in the area in and around the capital city. Austin Faith Dialogue is brought to you by Austin Metropolitan Ministries in cooperation with KTBC TV. Join us now for this week's edition of Austin Faith Dialogue.
Hello, I'm Ruth Landsberg, your host for this edition of Austin Faith Dialogue. The city of Austin is known for many things. Its most obvious association is simply being the state capital. But for many others, especially those who are college students, Austin is known as the home of the University of Texas. There are now nearly 50,000 students on the UT campus. It is also the home to a variety of student organizations and groups. Some of the most prominent of these organizations are fraternities and sororities, or Greek organizations as they are also known. There are about 50 fraternities and sororities on the UT campus. Some specialize to accounting majors. Others were created for athletes, while some are just groups united for social gatherings. The reason for organizing any fraternity or sorority can vary greatly. However, some students are coming together because of their common bond in religion. At UT, there are at least 10 such Greek organizations, and today we'll meet students who have chosen to join these groups. We'll find out why and what their special role is in their fraternity and sorority, and what role that sorority plays not only on campus, but in their lives. Joining us in our discussion are Shauna Russell, Vice President of Sigma Phi Lambda, described as a Christian sorority. Also joining us today is Bellarmino Castellanos, a member of Lambda Omega Alpha, described as a Catholic fraternity, and Sean Benart of Alpha Epsilon Pi, which is described as a Jewish fraternity. And I want to thank you all for joining us today. I want to start by finding out a little bit about UT, the University of Texas itself, and what sort of role the fraternities play on campus. It sometimes seems like it's a pretty prominent role.
Yes, it is. At a place as large as UT, with a campus of over 50,000 students, it's important that students, especially freshmen, coming in, identify with a group they can call home, or they can have an initial group of friends they can identify with. And what we offer in terms of religious affiliation is that students of the same religion can initially find a group of such friends. And I think that's important.
I think it's important, certainly for a fraternity or a sorority. And there are a lot of other groups when students come to campus, I suppose, with common interests. But there's something probably pretty special about growing up in a certain faith community and being able to carry that through to college. I think most people don't associate that so much.
Well, what happens is that when people come to a university, it is hard to try to adapt, especially with 50,000 students. And one thing that you grow up with is your religion. And if there's one thing that you know, the process and the type of people and the type of faith that you have and you can identify with is your religion. So when we founded Lambda Omega Alpha, that was exactly what we were thinking about, is that everyone in our fraternity, we know at least one thing that is the most integral part about the person is their religion, and we can identify with that, at least that one part of their person.
So this is a relatively new fraternity.
Yes, in spring of 1990 it was founded, and it was founded with 5 members.
And were you one of the founding members?
I was one of the founding members. Thank you. And the Alpha class, and now we have a Gamma class this year, and we have 27 members plus 49 others that are part of our fraternity in a different way, and we're hoping that next year we'll be growing more and more. But we've noticed that just from last year we have grown, and not so much more in numbers, but in just how we do things and what we plan to do.
So it really is responding to a pretty important need for students, I think. And yours is also relatively new sorority.
We're relatively new as well. We were founded in February of 1988 with 5 members also. And since that point, we now have 65 active members. Over 100 girls have come and gone through our sorority, and we also have 2 other chapters in Texas. So we've
also founded since '88?
Yes.
Do y'all find that there's any difficulty being at a state-run university and being affiliated with a religious group on campus? I know when I was in school, I was affiliated with religious groups, and there wasn't generally much friction, but it is a little different than being at a private school.
There are some circumstances we have had run-ins of perhaps racial incidences. However, we do other things besides our religion only. I mean, we participate in philanthropy projects. We communicate and interact with other student groups that aren't religiously affiliated. And we are proud of our religion, and therefore we come across as not perhaps throwing it upon others. We just kind of keep it, we don't keep it to ourselves, but we practice it and we're proud of it, and we don't necessarily infringe upon other people's rights. So we get along pretty well with the community.
We've heard just a little bit about their fraternity and sorority. A Pi is a little larger, isn't it?
Yes. Nationally, we've been around for almost 150 years. Our local chapter, Gamma Deuteron in Texas, has been around since 1937. Our founding fathers initially started AEPi on the basis of Jewish brotherhood and thought that this would be a great way. It was founded in NYU in the mid-1800s, and they thought it would be a great way to unite brothers in the terms of the Jewish faith. And it's turned out to be a pretty successful operation with over 105 API chapters nationwide. It's been a very successful network.
So there's a long road ahead for the other fraternities and sororities here, I think.
Well, you know, when I was thinking about state-run universities, sometimes what happens is that you do tend to have a majority of the students that want to join an organization that is religious in some way, but then that stigma of saying, well, you know, you might be, you know, Mr. Holier than thou, or something like that impression that if you're in a religious fraternity, you can't have, you know, that much fun or be as social as the other social fraternities.
Does that really feel like a stigma on campus?
Well, I believe that sometimes you tend to say, they go, well, oh, it's a religious fraternity, like that pause right there, it kind of, all the connotations of religion not being able to be equated with social and the friendliness and the brotherhood that some of the fraternities tend to exemplify on campus, especially
that age group.
Especially at a state run, you know, you tend to see the pictures of everyone having a good time partying, and you know, that unfortunately has kept a lot of people from maybe wanting to join a religious fraternity and join that brotherhood or sisterhood.
My sense is that your organizations don't lack for social gatherings. This is not purely religious. It seems that to me that the bond is that all of your members share their faith. But beyond that, you probably have students of every field of study and lots of different activities.
Exactly, especially with a university this large, you tend to have so many diverse majors, even combinations. So, like, you know, you can have your English pre-meds or music, psychology majors, and so these combinations tend to help each other grow and get to know a little bit about every part of the university just within your own fraternity.
I myself am business pre-med, and some of the other majors in my fraternity range from electrical engineering to French, and that's probably one of the biggest attractions to new members. Aside from offering a Jewish background or a Jewish identity, we also offer a lot of diversity within that group in itself.
So there's diversity among the people, and there's probably a lot of diversity among the activities that y'all participate in. I presume that, but I don't know, that you observe a lot of the holidays of your own faiths, and you probably have a lot of social activities, and I know that there's a lot of philanthropy that y'all are involved in.
We, our sorority has 2 open parties a semester, and I think that a really important point has been made that people often, because an organization is religious, they assume that having any sort of social fun is hindered, or, you know, maybe not, and can't be the true sense of fun. Our parties, the 2 that we have a semester, are open, and I mean, we you know, just have I guess our religious tie sets the tone of the party. And we always take the opportunity to have a speaker and someone sing at our party, you know, just to keep our focus on why we exist as an organization. But I feel, you know, that we have just as much fun as as any other organization, and I think that our religious bond only enhances that, and you know, rather than hinders it.
I think that's a pretty special sort of organization. Tell me a little bit about the philanthropy that the groups are involved in. It seems that there's a real negative image of fraternities and sororities nationwide and also here in Austin, and yet I work here in Austin in the nonprofit community, and I see tremendous efforts put out by the fraternities and sororities. There's this base of organization and talent that is really out there working in the community.
Well, there are two kinds of philanthropy that our fraternity participates in. That being one of religious philanthropy, and also being one of community service. For religious philanthropy, we've helped the Chabad House and Hillel, two Jewish groups on campus, with different projects with regard to certain Jewish holidays. For Sukkot, we help the Chabad House build a sukkah, which is, well, I don't want to get into to describing too much of the religion. However, we help build a sukkah in West Mall, which is a public area on campus.
And I was a student at UT also. I think it's reasonable to explain that a sukkah is a small house, really, that's like a shed, sort of, that's built for the holiday of Sukkot.
Right.
So you work with the religious groups too?
Yes, we do. We also have Passover dinners. Passover is another Jewish holiday that occurs around Easter time, and that commemorates the Jewish people spending 40 years in the desert in Egypt and Sinai, and after they were slaves in Egypt. We have a coming together at those times, and we invite other Jewish people as well to join us. Aside from religious activities, we also participate in community service. One of our projects this past semester was Dive for Debris. There's a lot of interest in scuba diving at UT, and we accumulated some scuba dives together. We got some sponsorships, and we basically had a day at Lake Travis where we dove for debris. We literally cleaned up Lake Travis, and we publicized a little bit, and a lot of people had a lot of fun doing it at the same time.
So they really are reaching out. Do you find that the fraternities and sororities have an opportunity to interact with the faith community of Austin outside of the university? Are you affiliated with churches and synagogues here?
Well, for instance, our fraternity is based primarily with the University Catholic Center, and that has helped in try to help the community, especially the university community, because we're right on campus, and it's always a situation where we're studying, and we've been studying real hard, and supposedly, and we go back to the Catholic Center, and it's right there in front of the Littlefield Fountain, and that is where I met most of my friends that in turn became my fraternity brothers in the end. And especially right now with the Texas Catholic Student Conference coming up the first weekend of spring break, a lot of them are working really hard on that, and the crop walk, where all the religious groups come together to help the hungry.
That's a big.
It's a very big. Yeah, it's very big, and we try to help with that, and also with trying to get food for the day workers. That's done once a month, and all these different projects are going on, but all of them really are integrating all the community, not just necessarily our fraternity, because what we did is we tried to make sure that, try to lead by example, and sometimes what happens is that a lot of fraternity groups will want to help so much, but unfortunately they're helping so much that the community tends to say, well, there are enough social groups out there that will do all the work for us, but in trying to get the community to realize there is more of a need, and the fraternities can't try to do all the philanthropy out there, or the social organizations, they need a lot of volunteers, and that's what we're trying to do, is volunteer for different outside groups, such as Project Mentor at different elementary schools and so forth. So I mean, that is what we're trying to do, especially because we're smaller
there's
too.
A big, organizational structure at UT within the fraternities and sororities and within the university, and also out in Austin in the nonprofit community. It seems that part of what your fraternities and sororities are doing is being leaders in linking up those structures. Do you find that the sororities have any sort of special relationships
our particular sorority, we have only one service project a semester, and we usually try to affiliate it somehow with some aspect of religion. In the past, we've done projects such as getting children out of the East Austin projects and taking them to the Austin Nature Center for the day, and having a picnic and just taking them through the park and just letting them know, that they're cared about. And
That's exciting.
yeah, and we've done some carnivals in the past. We usually work with children's groups, although we're open, to any project. This semester we'll be working with the elderly at Special Olympics. And it's really important because I think it shows a really positive aspect of religion or a common bond and a faith, that a very important aspect of that is that we care about other people and their general welfare. And I think that's important.
I think it's very important, and I think that it's true for most all of the fraternities and sororities on campus that they have a commitment to philanthropy. But I think that for the faith-oriented organizations, that it grows out of something more specific, something very special.
Yeah, exactly. Like what happens is right now, yesterday was Ash Wednesday, which signifies the beginning of Lent, and this is a very solemn time of the year for Catholics, and especially when we start to see all the hunger and see all the problems that are in our community, that we try to think about this more and try to help out more, as opposed to other times of the year when Christmas is around and you're having such a good time, and then you start seeing, just the juxtaposition to this, all the sad parts of Christmas too.
Mm-hmm.
So right now it's like a process where we're trying to grow together and try to, fill the needs out there in the community. And in reference to the different groups, like Interfaith Council is a different, a new group over at the University Catholic Center, which is uniting all the different faith organizations on campus. And that is like one such organization that is trying to keep from having religious differences separate from the need of trying to use your religion to help the people. So, maybe you probably might join one of these days.
Well, there was actually an interesting conversation or meeting that went on yesterday between Barbara Jordan and Rabbi Baker of Hillel. And basically the talk was primarily focused on blacks and Jews uniting in the fight against racism. And I think that our fraternity while we haven't perhaps done anything specific in the recent past, I believe that we could help this problem by interacting more with the black community at UT, and I don't see why in the future this couldn't happen. Definitely.
Well, so a lot of the linkage seems the personal links among members of a given fraternity or sorority, and then the links between different faith organizations and different student groups on campus. It's really the premise of the success of the relationships that we're trying to cultivate at UT and bring out into the world.
One of the things about API being that it's a nationally known Jewish fraternity, there are a lot of national groups that participate internationally in relief to Jewish people over the world, such as UJA, which essentially provides help to Jewish people all over the world, from Russian Jews in Israel to Jews right here at home in the United States. And our fraternity participates in that program every year along with Hillel and other Jewish groups on campus to help donate and raise money for this fund. And
you participate locally as part of an Austin group that participates as part of a national. This is something I'm familiar with in my community work.
Yes. We're also contacted by APAC, which isn't quite a philanthropy organization, but it is primarily an Israel public committee that deals with the concerns of Israel. It's not a political affairs committee, so it's not. It shouldn't be given a negative connotation, as it might sound. But we participate in that as well, considering that Israel is our national homeland. We like to protect and preserve it as much as possible.
So there's a lot of links, and I think it's really nice to see how one student coming in as a freshman can find an organization that will help them find the way to all these sort of national issues and local issues that y'all have been discussing.
And also, we also work with the Catholic Student Association from the University Catholic Center, and what they tend to do is have seminars on different topics like social justice and poverty and homelessness and so forth, and we make sure that our members go to these seminars, and our pledges especially, they are required 15 service hours a semester. So that in itself, shows that they are obligated in themselves. Sometimes, you want to do service projects, but unless you're obligated to, you won't do them. And once they've started doing them, they're doing way past 15 hours a semester because they see the benefit and what they reap from it throughout the semester.
And they learn how.
They learn how, and that's one of the things that we help themselves, and especially at the university setting with all these tests and exams and a lot of problems with that. They know that they can always rely on us to reach that spiritual.
So you've really
help.
been part of this. I'm really fascinated by how you're part of a group that's new, that's just formed. It takes a lot of something special to
we were really
bring
surprised
together.
because at first we were thinking, well, it's just going to be the 5 of us and it's going to be really neat. But at the University Catholic Center, people really thought we were like 60 or 70 members because there were all these projects that we were helping out with, and they would hear, oh yeah, the Lambda Omega Alphas are doing this and all that. And it turned out that a lot of members were going, so, what exactly is going on? And then we had people pledge, and then this year we had a lot more pledge, and it's just a matter of, getting around and getting to know people, and they see what you're doing. They don't necessarily think, well, these kids are just doing it because they want to have a good time and have fun, because they see us doing these service projects, which for us
So
is
there's
fun.
a real balance.
And it's a real balance, and there's one thing you can always count on is it's like it's so united that they know they can always rely on us for trusting situations and
Special fellowship.
It's special fellowship that sometimes I know a lot of my friends that are in other fraternities, I ask them if they know this one other guy in a fraternity, and they tend to not even know who that person is, and they're in the same fraternity, so that is something that we hope in the long run we won't see in our fraternity because we'll be so close-knit, and that's something to look out for, the fraternities.
How has it been for you personally, individually, to be a part of a faith organization as a student?
Well, my experiences in coming to UT, I was from a particularly small town, and I came here and, of course, was overwhelmed. And I think that my sorority has given me maybe a sense of a little bit of being back home and, having that comfort and that common bond with a group of other girls. And it's helped me to feel like I'm not the only, or like that I'm alone on the UT campus. And I think...
and you can feel that way,
oh,
despite how
definitely.
big it is.
Yeah, and I think it's given me a lot of friendships that I would have never had, and just that the common bond in our Christianity, and is very important. Among our sorority, we're a very diverse group because we have the whole range of denominations: Catholics, Baptists, Church of Christ. I mean, just the whole broad range. But it's really it's allowed me to learn about other denominations within Christianity that I maybe never would have known anything about. So it's given me a closeness, and yet it's provided a learning experience for me as well.
Coming from a very large Jewish community in Houston, I was actually quite familiar with being with a lot of Jewish friends and families and people, and Jewish people. And surprisingly, there's actually quite a significantly large group of Jewish students at UT. I believe there are anywhere from 3,500 to 4,000 Jewish students. I found it very easy to fit in to a few social groups at UT. And I found that API was definitely a great place to grow and learn. Well, at least I thought that when I was a freshman, and now being now being a junior, I've definitely grown and learned a lot from participating in different chairmanships to being scholastic chairman to being vice president last semester. I'm presently running for president next year, and I plan to take API to hopefully heights that it's never reached. But
It's exciting.
it is. It's very exciting. I think that it's been a great place to lead people that I really care about, and people that I know respect me and have my respect in return. It's been a great support base. I've participated in a lot of activities which, without the help of my fraternity brothers, wouldn't have been possible. I ran politically for Student Association representative and one quite easily with the help of my fraternity brothers and the networking that they helped me do. And I think that the networking is actually another point that I'd like to bring up. It's been an incredible experience traveling around the country in the past 2 or 3 years and learning how many instantaneous friends I've made by visiting the local API chapters around the country.
That's something special to being part of a national organization.
And what's great is that because National API is Jewish at the national level, you can automatically assume that the majority of the people that I will meet through API are Jewish and that we have this common identity. So not only is it at a local level that I have this common identity with my Jewish brothers, but it's also at the national level.
That's pretty exciting.
It's very exciting.
At the personal level right up to traveling nationally.
Sure.
Well, it's all very exciting.
Well, you know, like, when we all met, it was at a Longhorn Awakening, which is a Catholic retreat.
Mm-hmm.
And we were all together, and we noticed that sometimes, you know, we were just talking, and then it started becoming more of a religious talk as opposed to just chatting amongst guys. And what it turns out now is that whenever the new members want to join our fraternity, they realize that through the support group, you know, you can trust your brothers. And with me personally, it was something that I came from Kingwood, which is northeast of Houston, as a matter of fact, and there I noticed there were a lot of Catholics there, but it was something that I felt kind of like an outsider, and I'm Mexican. I felt, well, you know, if there's anywhere, you know, Catholics, you know, I'll be able to meet a lot of Mexicans, but, you know, that here at the university was something that, you know, I was in different Mexican organizations, but finally I got to join this group with a bunch of my friends, and something I really have enjoyed throughout the years.
Well, it's pretty special identity, I think, bringing together all of these unique things that you and your co-members have in common, being students and being members of a given faith and being members of an organization representing that faith. It's something very special. I want to thank you all for being here. It's been a lot of fun. Shauna, and I wish you luck, Sean, in your election that's coming up this spring.
Thanks.
And Bellarmino, it's been wonderful to have you all here.
Thank you.
I wish you all luck with the success and growth of your organizations and with your careers.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for joining me today to discuss the role of these religious-based fraternities and sororities, and thank all of our guests for being with us. I hope that you'll join us again next week for another edition of Austin Faith Dialogue. Until then, peace be with you.
For more information, call Austin Metropolitan